you able to watch the presidential or vice presidential debates recently? If you haven't yet, I highly recommend going back and watching the whole debates, and if not the whole debate, at least the highlights. And if you're hoping to get encouraged by either the climate or the tone of the conversations, you might find yourself being a little disappointed. But regardless of what side, if any, of the political spectrum you find yourself on, I think it's safe to say, well, I'm gonna say it, that we live in an extremely alienating political and social climate. And just to illustrate this point, I wanted to give you a couple scenarios that actually played themselves out in my life recently, and I wanted to see if you guys could relate. Recently, I had conversations with two very close friends of mine. We'll call them Susie and Sally. And Susie really loved candidate X, and Sally really loved candidate Y. And as I was chatting with Susie, the one who loved candidate X so much, she said something along the lines of, Connor, if you vote for candidate Y, you will be doing one of the most shallow, embarrassing things that you will ever do. It's almost as if she was saying, you will be sacrificing everything that you've ever believed in. If you want to be moral, you should not be voting for candidate Y, right? Now, this may not come as a surprise to you, but Sally, on the other side, the one who loves candidate Y, said a very similar thing about candidate X. Sally ended up saying, Connor, if you vote for candidate X, you're going to be punting on everything you've ever believed in. That will be so shallow and immoral of you to do such a bigoted thing. And both parties absolutely wouldn't want me to vote for a third option, because a vote for the third option means a vote for someone who's not the bipartisan candidate you want me to vote for, right? Do you see what we've done? But wait, are you telling me I'm imperfect? Haha, believe it or not, I already knew that. But that's where we are today, and let me tell you, that felt really good to hear. Well, you see, we often forget to ask ourselves the question on whether or not we care about the people we're disagreeing with. And regardless of who you decide to vote for in this upcoming election, I wanted to say a couple things to you guys. The first thing is, vote. Larry Sabato said that the election each year is determined by the people who show up. Whether you're just done with the bipartisan system, whether you just adore one of the candidates, or whether you are completely repulsed by one of the other candidates. Or maybe you just want to vote for what you think is the lesser of two evils, or maybe you don't want to vote at all. If you would, please vote. And if there's one thing that we as Americans are very good at doing it's complaining or pointing our fingers across the room at other people, sticking our nose up and saying, wow, look at what you're doing wrong. And if you're from the US, you have the unique ability to have a say, along with the rest of America, who the future leadership of our country is. And I hate to break it to you, but not everyone in the world has this luxury or this freedom. So be a good steward of your right to vote, and be thankful for the voice that you do have. And if you decide not to vote, that's okay, we can still be friends. But just please don't complain later. Honestly, I think it's pretty safe to say that even if you don't vote for one of the major parties, do a write-in vote. I think that's better than not voting at all. But honestly, regardless of who you decide to vote for, or if you decide to vote at all, please respect those who vote differently than you do. And I wanted to share with you all a quote that's had an impact on my life, and I think I can credit it to an actor named Kevin Sorbo, but I'm not sure, so don't quote me on that. He said, I am way less concerned with who you vote for than I am with how you treat the people who vote differently than you do. And regardless of how garbage of an opinion you think someone has, they are still human and have a God-given dignity that we should not deprive them of. Yes, disagree. Yes, have confrontation. Yes, raise your voice over inequality and injustices everywhere. But don't sacrifice your humanity in doing so. And don't trample on someone else's humanity either. Regardless of who you decide to vote for, or whether you're going to vote at all, or what you think about any of what I just said, we all have the ability to be respectful and to lend a listening ear to others. These are just some of the things that have been floating around in my head, but I honestly would love to hear any of your thoughts in the comment section below. And if you know someone else who might find this video enjoyable, by all means, feel free to share it with them. And if you could leave a subscribe, it would help the channel out a ton. But regardless of the answer to any of those, have a great day and take care.